So Florida passed Amendment 2 in November. And Amendment 2 is the medical marijuana law that Florida essentially tried to pass before. Didn't happen. They didn't really tweak it too much, and this time it passed. A lot of different reasons why that happened. It should have passed the first time, to be honest. So the legislature and Department of Health in Florida still have to work out the rules and regulations that will govern the state's medical marijuana industry. So about 200 doctors in Florida are qualified to prescribe marijuana currently, and their patients, eager for a new antidote to their pain, nausea, or other ailments, are asking questions. There are many patients with cancer, neurological disorders, or serious digestive problems that are waiting with hope of using a natural product, said Sylvia Bentoncourt, an internist who has a private cannabis-based practice at CBD Clinic in Southwest Miami-Dade. Now, I've been looking at these laws that just passed, and I kind of, I've been studying the ones that are already on the books for a while now. And what I've come up with is that Florida's new medical marijuana law is one of the worst ones out there. First of all, it's one of the most confusing by far. I'm going to try to get through this thing, but I'm still confused as to what is actually going on with this law in Florida. I mean, it proves that you can put something on a piece of paper and say, hey, do you want to put legalizing medical marijuana in your Constitution? And people are like, hell yeah, no brainer. But when you look at the actual details in this constitutional amendment, it's anything but straightforward. It's not something that, you're going to be like run out there and, immediately get a med card and go immediately to a dispensary and buy, medicine. It's nothing like that at all. So under the 2014 law that legalized a limited form of medical marijuana, patients don't have access to medical marijuana until they've been seeing their doctor for at least 3 months. Bentoncourt, who was among those 200 doctors, said she's already started to see new patients who want to establish the relationship now. So, first of all, that's pretty weird. And this is that right-wing thing where, someone's just going to stub their toe and then go to the clinic and the doctor's going to write them a prescription or a medical marijuana card, a recommendation. I mean, who cares if that's what happens or not, really? But that's not, to make someone have to go to a doctor for 3 months to get a medical marijuana recommendation is fucking stupid. I'm so sick of this overly ridiculous, over-the-top fucking restrictions on medical marijuana. We want more access. We want less jails being filled with fucking people that are sick. And here you guys go, making people see a fucking doctor for 3 months to establish a relationship. That's absurd. And this is Florida, where you have fucking pill mills, all right, where you don't even need to know the doctor. You just go to this pill mill, and they'll get you right with, whatever script you ask for, and however many pill count, whatever the DEA allows, they'll give you it. And you only got to go there once. So you got that. And these are the same fucking people that still talk about the gateway theory. All right, Florida, it sucks that you guys have to have this bullshit, like the worst medical marijuana law in the country, almost. We'll see. There's a couple things that we don't know yet. Because like it said in the beginning, the legislator has to hammer out some kind of rules and how all this stuff's going to work. Marijuana growers and dispensaries like South Florida's Modern Health Concepts have also heard from a growing number of patients newly covered under the amendment. Quote, we get dozens of inquiries on a daily basis, said CEO Richard Young. He said his company is poised to meet the demand, but without guidance from the legislator, it's unclear if doctors can begin prescribing marijuana to newly covered patients before all the rules are worked out. Quote, the notion that the medical marijuana amendment becomes effective is a little anticlimactic, says Ben Pallara, executive chairman of advocacy group Florida for Care. quote, it's effective as a point of law. But before anybody can see access to medical marijuana under this new law, there needs to be rulemaking and regulations passed by the legislature. The industry is already operating under a law passed in 2014 that permitted the growth and use of low-strength cannabis for people with very limited number of specific conditions, including cancer or physical medical condition that causes chronic spasms and seizures. Now that, broad as it may seem, is a very specific thing. They're really just talking about seizures, chronic spasms and seizures. Now this whole deal with including cancer, somebody that has cancer probably isn't really too interested in low THC cannabis. Now this low strength cannabis, I'm not sure what that even means, because what do you grow low THC cannabis? Only if it's high CBD. I mean, we're talking about almost hemp levels of CBD over THC, where there's very little THC. You're not even going to get high off it. Basically, let me read that again. In 2014, you were permitted to grow and use low-strength cannabis. And we're talking about people with the worst ailments on the planet. So you're just going to let them have CBD only. Low-strength cannabis only. That's their 2014 law. And that's why you never heard of medical marijuana in Florida, because it was never a thing. Medical cannabis products, which have larger dose THC, the chemical that gives the user a high, because that's just such a big fucking deal among everybody that don't want to try medical marijuana or wants to act like medical marijuana is not medicine for any reason, always goes the high. It's always the high. The high. Too high, I don't want to be high. You don't want to be high, but next thing you know, you're eating a handful of fucking Vicodins. You know, these are the same people. I'm sick of it, man. These are the same people that will prescribe. They'll have a kid that has some kind of acute form of autism, and next thing you know, they throw Adderall and benzodiazepines at the kid. But you know, they don't want you to get high on THC. So the chemical that gives you the high, the THC, if you have the larger dose, that's only available to patients who have been certified terminally ill by 2 doctors. Again, man, why the over-the-top bullshit? We can go out on the street and no fucking doctor needed and buy a high THC cannabis. In most places, it's decriminalized, so the only person that's taking a risk there is the person selling the marijuana. Amendment 2 is in effect. The list of approved conditions has been expanded. You have cancer, epilepsy, glaucoma, HIV, AIDS, PTSD, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, chronic or Crohn's disease, Parkinson's disease, and multiple sclerosis. Where's chronic pain at? Why ain't chronic pain on there? Chronic pain is the number one thing that medical marijuana is used for in the United States today. And out of the people that are prescribed or recommended or use medical marijuana for chronic pain, over 90% of them say that it works. And I would be willing to guess that almost all of them have quit with the opioids and the opiates. So, yeah, your list is really short. There should be no such thing as a qualifying condition list. I hate to say it, but like those snake oil salesmen back in the turn of the 19th century, they were probably using cannabis in their little snake oil cure-all thing. Because guess what? It pretty much cures everything. And if you don't think it treats or cures everything, be my guest. And the burden of proof is not on us. It's on you. I say it treats chronic pain because I have chronic pain and it treats it. Did it cure it? No. Did Vicodins ever fucking cure it? No. What did Vicodins do? Oh, it made you go on to the next thing. Next thing you know it, you're on fentanyl or OxyContin, And you know what? I'd rather be on cannabis any day of the week. Of course, it's a no-brainer. All right, but as the law stands, the expanded group of patients having access to the same format of medicine as before, as in oils, tinctures, and capsules. No existing Florida law allows smokable marijuana for patients, and that includes Amendment 2. Amendment 2 does not specifically address smokable marijuana, so that's a gray area. I mean, who the fuck wrote this thing, man? I know the guy that wanted to make it pass so much and put all his weight behind it. I mean, I know he probably had something to do with it. Who would want to create this gray area where smoking might be allowed or it might not be allowed? No fucking questions about it. Smoking is the number one way people use marijuana, whether it be medical or recreational or whatever you want to do. Smoking, whether it be concentrated forms of marijuana or just the straight up bud right off of the flower, right off of the plant. Either way, smoking and shit is basically, it's medicine, man. You know, and I'm sick of the people out there who would like to criticize that statement. Oh, I've never heard of smokable medicine before. Well, you know, part of the reason marijuana became illegal is because the pharmaceutical industries, or I should say families, because they're all family owned. The pharmaceutical families who wanted to take over the pharmaceutical industry decided that marijuana was in their way. Cannabis, they couldn't have that out there, preventing people from getting all these diseases they wanted to invent cures for, or already had treatment for the symptoms for. And that's all they got, man. And then they're going to be out there telling you that smoking marijuana is not medicine. I got one thing that you can guarantee. If you smoked a joint a day, you'll never have Alzheimer's disease, because it makes it so you don't get a buildup of the amyloid in the brain that causes Alzheimer's disease. That's provable science, and it's a fucking fact. So smoking one marijuana joint a day will prevent you from getting Alzheimer's, and that means it's medicine, man. Or you can't call it medicine because it's a preventative. I give up on you people out there that don't think marijuana is medicine. I can't do nothing more for you. You've just bought the propaganda hook, line, and sinker, and there's no way to bring you out of it, man. You're just in a coma at this point. All right, so other doctors who have undergone this $1,000 8-hour training program with the Department of Health, a new annual requirement under Amendment 2, will have to submit each qualifying patient's treatment plan to the University of Florida for research purposes. Now, first of all, what the fuck is this $1,000 8-hour training program that you're making the doctors go through to the Department of Health? That's just insanity, man. You're just, all right, you're like, okay, ooh, marijuana's legal now. We can throw money to everybody that would have lost money because of it being legal. So we want the Department of Health. Who knows why they need the money or who needs the training. Anyway, so you got to get this training. And then when you get a patient, you have to submit the treatment plan to the fucking University of Florida for research purposes. Isn't that against the law? Isn't that violating the doctor-patient privilege? Yeah, it is. Let me just answer that real quick. Yeah, that is. And you just made that into your Constitution. You wrote that into your Constitution. A fucking illegal law. And the Supreme Court didn't have anything to say about that? I mean, come on, man. This is such an invasion of privacy. You're telling me that you have the right to make doctors send a treatment plan for all their patients to the fucking University of Florida for research purposes. I'm telling you right here and now that is a fucking, that's against the law. To force doctors to do that, I hate to say it's unconstitutional because this is now in the fucking Florida's Constitution. Wow, people, someone designed this law to fail so hard on so many levels, and nobody's seen that coming. Like, what? Did anybody read this? I know I should have read it. I haven't been paying attention to this thing, to be honest. I mean, this one kind of flew right over my head. I looked at it like, well, there's a lot of old, sick people in Florida. They need medical marijuana any way they can get it. Well, this is not the way to get it, man. But it's the way you got it now. And now you got to hope your right-wing fucking government in Florida don't make this thing completely unworkable. And I guarantee you they're gonna, man. Come on. You don't think they're gonna? It's Florida we're talking about here. So the rest of the regulations that will put the amendment into practice have yet to be written. But the legislator and the Department of Health have hard deadlines for writing them. The legislator must figure out how to issue and renew medical marijuana cards, the adequate amount of marijuana to prescribe, and all the fine print on how treatment centers can and should operate, all before June. Oh, I can't wait for this shit, dude. So the adequate amount of marijuana to prescribe. You know the number for that is the same number which is the correct number of nanograms to have in your system to be impaired. You guys are, you don't get it, do you? Marijuana is not a pill that can, if you take too many of them, it can kill you. Marijuana is not lethal. Marijuana is medicine. It's something your body should. It shouldn't even be called medicine. It should be called nutrients. Stuff you absolutely need, or you're gonna fucking die. Now, to tell somebody that we're gonna try to figure out the adequate amount of marijuana to prescribe, you're not gonna figure that out by June. That's gonna take a lot longer than that. Probably you'll never figure that out. My advice is take as much marijuana as you possibly can, all the time, as much as you possibly can. Because it's a toxic fucking world out here. And I'm sorry about the swearing. Jeez, oh Pete's, this article is just pissing me right off. If you didn't come here for the foul language, I apologize big time. But this is just absurdity. I cannot believe what I'm reading here. If you live in Florida, you got to deal with it because it's your Constitution. It's in your Constitution now. All right, then they'll have 3 months to start issuing licenses and ID cards. If not, the amendment gives citizens right to sue. And we've seen that happen in Michigan. They had a deadline to when they was supposed to start issuing cards, and the deadline passed, and they had excuses. And we basically had to hold their feet to the fire before we could finally get actual cards issued. And everybody in the industry was kind of being dicks about, oh, you got to have a hard card or we're not going to do business with you because, it was legit because you might be a cop if you don't have a hard card. Nowadays, the cops have hard cards, so it doesn't even matter. Can't trust anybody now. So a new wrinkle in the legislature will have to work out is the qualifications and standards for caregivers, people over 21 years old who will dispense medical marijuana to qualified patients. They got it all wrong, man. First of all, a caregiver isn't the guy that sells you the weed at the dispensary. That's not it. That's not who that is. So you got people that are over 21 years old who will dispense medical marijuana to qualified patients. What's the deal with the 21 years old shit? They keep making marijuana this thing that's a recreational buzz thing. And, I've been saying this about Michigan's law for a while. It's just no one takes the marijuana as medicine part serious, and it's just the green card protecting you from the cops. And this is kind of more of that than I've ever seen with the Michigan law. So anyway, apart from the regulatory issues, legislators and local governments will have to grapple with zoning issues surrounding the expected increase in dispensaries opening. Some cities like Hialeah and Miami Beach have temporarily banned the opening of dispensaries while they develop their own zoning rules for where dispensaries can operate. That's just stupid, Miami Beach. And I'm acting like some rich dude from Amsterdam is just going to come and plop a dispensary down in downtown Miami Beach without asking the fucking board if it's okay, without going to the Chamber of Commerce. Give me a break, man. And by the way, I did read the law, and there is in it provisions for ordinance writing and rules making by local ordinances, so there's no worries about all of a sudden 30 dispensaries just opened up before you even had an ordinance on the table. Anyway, we'll go on. Wherever it's available, medical marijuana is projected to be a big business in Florida. Unfortunately, it's not going to be really a real thing until they hammer out these stupid things, allow smoking, hammer out exactly what you're talking about with, the doctors. There's just way too many restrictions on the outset. Like it's going to be so painful. And like I said, these people are old and a lot of them are sick, and to expect them to jump through all these extra hoops is it's a yeah, wherever you're going to have marijuana, medical marijuana, it's going to be big, not just in Florida, but anywhere. But you got to have access. You got to have access. The access has to be safe. The access has to be legitimate, open, free, from, it can't be like hidden in the corner where no one knows where it is, or, so far away that nobody can get to it. You got to have a lot of dispensaries, not less dispensaries. And part of the way that right-wingers have this plan to kill marijuana, their plan right now that's on the table includes trying to limit the number of dispensaries. And you've seen it in the propaganda that was in the lead up to the elections. They want to limit the amount of dispensaries, plain and simple. And this law, we're going to see how they do it. But I'm going to do another report on I believe it was Arkansas, who, absorbent fees for opening a dispensary. Michigan, same thing. Lansing started up an ordinance, absorbent fees for opening a dispensary. All right, so a recent study by marijuana industry analysts pegged 2020 medical marijuana market at $1 billion. I would argue it's probably already there, and it's probably even higher than that right now. We're just coming out of the shadows with it. And with the big banks leery of regulations on accepting money from drugs deemed illegal by the federal government, more on that later, much of that business is done in cash. Let's just say over 95% of it. Medical insurance companies do not cover medical marijuana, nor does Amendment 2 require them to. And we're going to have to start seeing that kind of change too as time moves on, especially Florida being a place where medical marijuana starts to become a thing. Because what you have is a lot of people quitting their orange bottles, and the insurance companies are just getting left out of the game altogether. Patients like those at Modern Health Concepts pay out of the pocket in cash for their marijuana. They do it everywhere, and you know why they do it? Because the marijuana works, man. If you was prescribed something and they were like, but we can't insure it, man. We can't insure this. It works. I guarantee it works. And you take it home and, you go ahead and bite it and buy it. It works. What if it don't work, though? Do you go buy more? Fuck no. No fucking way. Even if it works, you're still going to be like, do I buy more of this? I mean, it worked, but is it worth it? That becomes a thing. Well, this should tell you something, that no one's slowing down on buying medical marijuana at all. And it's pretty expensive, man, but it fucking works. I say it's pretty expensive. That's because the insurance companies ain't paying for it. That's because it works. They don't pay for shit that cures you. And I did say it was expensive, but relatively speaking, if you take something like cancer, what if you can beat cancer and it's only like around $10,000 compared to, all the chemo and radiation money can buy? You can go all the way into $1 million maybe and still die from the cancer or from the chemo and the radiation. So, the cost is relative, to that. But as far as insurance companies, no, they're not going to pay for something that actually cures shit. All right, and now so far they have only 7 designated growers for the medical marijuana in all of Florida. Most of the company's products is delivered to homes across South Florida, although a few patients visit the dispensary at its headquarters in Redland. And last time I checked, all they sold was CBD medicine. And when I say low THC, I'm talking about hardly any. And even if there was any, it wouldn't be enough to get you high with all the CBD that's in it. Inside the Modern Health Concepts lab, a flower of marijuana plant is dried and tested for contaminants like mold and bacteria, as well as potency before it's turned into oil. The oil product is tested again, mixed with coconut or safflower oil, and packaged into capsules or bottled into liquid form. An independent lab located on site tests the product again before it's ready to market. We have to make sure bottle number 1 is the same as bottle number 1000, said Young, the company's CEO. It's a medicine. It has to be consistent. And again, I refer you to, with CBD medicine, I guess that's it's a thing you want to know, what your doses are. Everything is. But with smoking marijuana, it's just a matter of you do it until you're done. Sometimes you take 2 puffs, sometimes you take 4. I don't know if you really need to sit there and smoke the whole joint. No one really does. All right, with growing patient interest and businesses ready to roll, state lawmakers and health officials will, in the coming months, need to hash out the details of how to make Amendment 2 a reality. We're in this funky gray period right now where you've got medical marijuana in the state constitution but with no regulation, said Palara of Florida for Care. And yeah, the regulations, I'm just going to have to guess again and use my educated guess being the background of my education in this field, concerning Florida, concerning marijuana, concerning the Republicans that run Florida. I don't have a whole lot of high hopes for this marijuana bill. It's part of your constitution now, so and that's all I got on this story. I will definitely keep you informed as we move along with these regulations and rules. But currently, some of the things that I've seen that are already part of this law are the most restrictive things in the country on medical marijuana.